Hello, I'm Mario Anderson and welcome to In Focus Kentucky, where we take a look at issues that matter to you right here in the Bluegrass State. And each week we talk with the lawmakers, community organizers, and people like you who help shape those policies. Today we're focusing on the dark world of human trafficking and the concerns that it poses in the state of Kentucky. According to the University of Louisville's Department of Pediatrics, during high-profile events such as Derby Week, sex trafficking, particularly of kids and teens, increases dramatically. The average age of sex trafficked victims are from 14 to 17, and most of these victims are young women. Today, we'll speak with those aiming to stop this horrible practice by teaching citizens what are potential sex trafficking signs. But first, we visit with a human trafficking survivor. Summer Dickerson says Chicago is where she was born, but she's called Kentucky home for the last 9 years.
I don't know, my life's just been pretty crazy and insane and amazing all at the same time.
While Summer is committed to making her life better, she says her journey in life has come with its ups and downs.
So like, I've been buried alive, I've been pistol whipped, I've been beat with belts so bad they could barely tell what nationality I was.
Summer says she was abused and a victim of sexual assault as a child and decided to run away from home at 15 years old.
And that's when I got kidnapped. But then because I didn't get any kind of counseling, you know, no one said, hey, let's go, you know, make sure you're okay. And because of all the abuse, I just thought that's really all I was worth. You know, I thought that people having sex with me or using me was really all I was worth. And I know that that's different now. You know, I know that that's not all that I'm worth. I know that I'm worth so much more. And I just want people to understand, like, we're not what we've been through. That's not our final destination. That's just the beginning of an amazing future.
And that future is fueled by faith, something that led Summer to create Women's Well Ministry, a safe house for women to heal and recover from trauma-induced situations as a result of human trafficking and sexual exploitations.
I always tell the girls, you might be a victim when you get on my porch, but once you walk through that door, you're a survivor. And so here we give the girls parenting classes and budgeting classes and cooking classes and sewing classes and anything that'll make them be the women that they were supposed to be before all the trauma happened.
Summer says she's had over 40 women come through the recovery house that she has named Esther, and says the services she offers provides programming, support, and sisterhood.
For them, you know, to have somebody that's been through the ringer like I've been, there's no one that can ever walk through that door and say, I can't do this, Miss Summer, because I know they can. Because if I can do it, then they can do it, you know, and so that it gives it a different avenue.
Summer says her recovery house is just the start of her long-term plan, which includes eventually opening a second house and even offering help to men who are victims of sex exploitation as well.
God's doing all the work. I'm just the hot mess that's walking alongside these people, you know, and so to get a front row seat in the transformation is, I mean, it's mind-blowing. It's amazing. It's pretty cool.
Joining me now is Dr. Jennifer Green, who focuses on child abuse in the University of Louisville's Department of Pediatrics. Dr. Green, thanks so much for joining me today on In Focus Kentucky.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
You bet. And talk about your background and how you decided to want to get involved with this particular field.
Of course. So I was actually introduced to the field of child abuse pediatrics in medical school just by doing essentially a rotation with a child abuse pediatrician. It really sparked my interest, and it was really something that once I learned about it, it was kind of a no-brainer. It was something that I knew I wanted to do. So when it came to applying for residencies, which is kind of the training that you do after medical school, I wanted to go to a place that had a child abuse fellowship, which University of Louisville does. Upon going to residency and doing my pediatrics residency at the University of Louisville, I was exposed to many cases of child abuse and neglect, and ended up pursuing a fellowship in child abuse pediatrics at the University of Louisville, where I am now.
And talk about that fellowship for people that may not be aware of what a fellowship is, or maybe even a residency at a hospital. Talk to us about that.
Yes, so upon graduation from medical school, all physicians have to go through essentially a training program in their specialized field. So to become a child abuse pediatrician, you actually have to do a 3-year residency in pediatrics, and successfully complete that, and then get your board certification in pediatrics, which I've done, to become a board certified general pediatrician, and then you pursue an additional 3 years of fellowship, which is additional medical training in that specialized field, which is child abuse pediatrics. And right now I'm at the University of Louisville Coast Air Charities Division of Pediatric Forensic Medicine, currently in finishing up my first year.
And what makes the program that's happening over at the U of L unique compared to other places throughout the state?
So the University of Louisville has a lot of resources. We have a lot of individuals that we work with. It's very multidisciplinary. Dr. Melissa Curry is who I train under, and she's done a great job at fostering that multidisciplinary attitude, not only with police and law enforcement, but also with local researchers at the University of Louisville, Kent School of Social Work. There's a lot of survivor-led leadership in Louisville that surrounding the topic of human sex trafficking, which has been really powerful and has led to a lot of further development and insights into what can be done and what needs to be done surrounding that issue.
And talk about your role with over at the university and at the hospital, dealing with children who are been affected by this particular issue. Kind of talk to us about what you particularly do there.
Yes. So as a child abuse pediatrics fellow, essentially we, as a team, evaluate children who have concerns for possible abuse and neglect. And so abuse can be physical abuse, it can be sexual abuse, it can be emotional abuse, and within sexual abuse, obviously, commercial sexual exploitation or human sex trafficking is a part of that. So essentially, we receive calls from anyone in the state. So that could be a pediatrician a few hours away, that could be CPS, that could be law enforcement. We get a lot of referrals from Norton Children's Hospital because that's essentially the local children's hospital where we are. And oftentimes when we get that referral, it'll be either something that the child has said or some type of interaction that they've had to lead them to concerns for possible human sex trafficking or commercial sexual exploitation. Upon getting that referral, we will essentially make recommendations for a medical evaluation, which can include testing for different sexually transmitted infections or different types of examinations. Oftentimes, if possible, we will obtain a history from the child themselves or any caretakers who are available. And then we will obviously recommend further investigation by law enforcement or child protective services if those concerns are present. The National Human Trafficking Hotline would be a number that I would most certainly recommend that people call. What they can do is, if the child can be identified, a lot of times they can link into local law enforcement to try and kind of further investigate that matter. Obviously, they can make recommendations as to what history can be obtained, such as if a medical professional is calling. They can make recommendations for resources that are in that area. Other things that would be important is, obviously, if you see a child who's in imminent danger, it would be important to call local law enforcement immediately in that certain time.
Well, Dr. Green, we appreciate you joining us today to talk about this issue that is happening in our state of Kentucky, but appreciate the good work you're doing over at the University of Louisville and with the hospital.
Well, thank you so much.
You bet. Now, coming up, we'll discuss the biggest human trafficking bust ever with the Louisville Metro Police Department that saved many victims. Next, here on In Focus, Kentucky.